James, let's start. So James McGrory, co-executive director of Open Britain. Let's start with you. And one of the first questions which was asked at that event, which is, why did people vote in a majority to leave the EU? Why do you think that they chose to take that decision?
Just a small one to start off with then, James. I think one of the mistakes that we make as commentators or participants is that we try and group 17 million or 16 million people together. That
so
all
everybody had their own reasons.
Definitely for leave and remain. When I was speaking on the doorstep to leavers, some of them were very passionate about wanting to see a drastic cut in immigration. Others felt that the issue of sovereignty was most important to them. Others were not happy about the bill that we have to pay to be a member of the European Union. They were probably the biggest three that came up for me on the doorstep.
Okay, so the money, the immigration, and the control issues. Jonathan Isaby from editor of Brexit Central. Do you agree with that?
I think I basically do, and I think I'd summarise it in three simple words: take back control. People wanted to see the UK take back control of our laws, of our borders, of our money, of our ability to make our own trade policy, after seeing for years, for decades, more and more powers being ceded to a remote Brussels bureaucracy that people felt unable to relate to and felt was not working in their interests.
So regardless of how we feel about how people of a different opinion voted to us, there seems to be a much better understanding as to the issues that really drove that decision, which rather then leaves me to Matt Ford, who said in that debate, he said, David Cameron should never, ever have allowed us to have that vote. Was he right in saying that? Jonathan?
Not at all. I think it was absolutely vital that we had that vote. You know, I remember as a schoolboy in 1993 saying we should have had a vote on the Maastricht Treaty. Indeed,
precocious stuff.
I'm afraid so. And then whether it be then the Treaty of Nice, the Treaty of Amsterdam, the European Constitution, which became the Lisbon Treaty. Various politicians at various points promised referendums on these various treaties, and they never happened. And actually, I think, in all seriousness, I think, and we ran a piece a few months ago on Brexit Central by Mark Francois, who was the Shadow Europe Minister during the period of the Lisbon Treaty going through Parliament. He said that the failure of the Blair government to deliver on their promise of giving a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty sowed the seeds of discontent so deep that led to people saying, basically, the next time there's a referendum, we're going to say no, thank you.
Okay, because I want to come back to that point. Let's just focus, first of all, on the David Cameron point. Do you agree with Jonathan that David Cameron was right to at least give us the say, James?
Not really, because I question his motives. I think it was entirely driven by his own desire to manage his own political party, the Conservatives. He was worried about the fruitcakes and closet racists of UKIP, as he himself described them, and that was the only motivating factor for him. I genuinely don't think it was driven by some desire to put hands in the power.
Does it matter what the motivation was, in the sense that, as Jonathan says, we had successive politicians who had led us down a route. So, if you
one of whom, by the way, was Nick Clegg, who used to say, "Let's have a real referendum on the EU." And I think I'm right in saying, James, you used to work for Nick Clegg, did you not?
I did. Look, well, the Liberal Democrat.
How was that?
It was fantastic. It was the best 10 years of my life. I mean, I'm only 34, so I've not got much to compare it to.
Right, because I was going to ask you though about this point, because in essence, although you can hold the responsibility at David Cameron for having done that, you can also point the finger at politicians all the way down the line. So when people first voted to join what was then the European Community, or the EEC, or however you wish to look at it, it was a trading organisation. And the nation was generally in favour of a trading organisation. It then became politically and financially motivated, and then it became much bigger. And at no stage did they have a say. So regardless of whether you say David Cameron made a mistake by allowing us and opening this sort of can of worms, in essence, would you blame previous politicians for not having at least tried to take people with them?
No, I blame previous politicians on both sides and large parts of the media for not speaking up publicly and repeatedly in pursuit of the European Union. It became the whipping boy.
Yes, but if they don't agree,
British politics, anything that was bad could just be blamed on Europe, regardless of whether it was true or not.
If people don't agree in political and financial union, then they're going to speak out against it, aren't they?
Well, I mean, personally, I believe in representative democracy. That's what we have in Britain. It's served us well for hundreds of years. I don't necessarily think that direct democracy is the best way to solve the biggest questions of our age. I wouldn't, for example, put something that I think is probably more important to people than the European Union, the future of the NHS. I wouldn't put that to a direct plebiscite. I wouldn't put the future of our education policy to a direct plebiscite. So I'm not massively in favour of referenda full stop, to be honest with you. I accept they have to happen in certain circumstances.
Why do they do them in other countries? I mean, let's just talk a little bit about the referendum process that probably the British politicians saw what happened in France and the Netherlands and Ireland, and that's why they didn't have a referendum here on the Lisbon Treaty. Is that the case?
Historically, over the last 20 years, there have been many examples, as you rightly imply, where there have been referendums on European treaties. Countries have said, no, we don't approve it. And then the European Union's come back and said, well, you're going to vote again until you give us the right answer, which, again, is the kind of attitude which I think a lot of people...
The Europeans love that. I used to work for a French company, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, they want you to buy into the idea, but if they don't get what they want, then they keep going until they get what they want. And that's kind of... It's a different mentality.
Well, it's not the British way of doing things.
I wouldn't underestimate the cultural attachment to the European Union that other people in other parts of the continent have. That's far deeper than it's ever been in Britain. Albion has always considered itself to be
Nobody has an attachment to the European Union. They have an attachment to Europe, but they don't have an attachment to the European Union.
I disagree. Go and talk to people in Spain, in particular, that came from the under the oppressive yoke of fascism to join the European Union. They love it. That's what I'm saying. People on the continent have a much more personal attachment.
I think James makes a very reasonable point there, and I think he's right to agree. And I think our different histories.
We never loved it, did we? In this
give us a very different attitude towards the European Union. And do you know, in a sense, I suspect that there's quite a few people in the elite of the EU who think, actually, good job the Brits have gone because we can do our own thing now.
But is that because, and just fun a bit because we need to take a break, but is that because we in the UK saw this as a trading project, Europe saw it as a political project?
I think that's absolutely right. And indeed, I think we were basically lied to at various points by our political leaders. And I think probably Tony Blair is particularly guilty of this. For instance,
Tony Blair? He never lied. Never.
I mean, I think it's interesting that probably the two greatest achievements, if you can look at them that way, you probably will disagree with me, of the European Union over the last 3 decades are the single market and enlargement, and both of those were entirely driven by the British agenda.
I will leave that hanging for a second, and then we will come back. If you want to get involved in the conversation, and I am, Peter, in Warrington, going to read out your rather offensive text that you sent, so we'll deal with that because we're going to be turning our attention to immigration. But if you want to join the conversation, can you please pick up your phone and dial 0344 499 1000. You can get involved in the conversation. Perhaps you'd like to respond to what you heard in the live debate, or you'd like to put a question to Jonathan Isaby, who's the editor of Brexit Central, or indeed James McGrory, co-executive director of Open Britain. They are on both sides of the argument, and maybe as a Leaver or Remainer or somebody who's just in the middle, you want to have your say. 0344 499 1000. You're listening to what can only be described as the After Live Debate Show with me, James Max, here on Talk Radio.
Talk Radio.
Join the Talk Nation.
Pick up your phone and Talk Radio.
We'll get you talking.
Talk Radio in partnership with the Army.
The Army is an equal opportunities employer with over 200 roles to choose from. So whatever you end up doing, you'll get paid according to your rank, not your gender.
Find where you belong. Discover more at army.mod.uk/belong.
We got 2 free tickets to Thorpe Park with the sun.
When we collected 10 tokens inside the paper.
Saving us over 100.
I think that was get 2 free tickets to Thorpe Park Resort when you collect 10 tokens inside the sun. Starts this Saturday.
Virgin Media gives fans all the football on Sky Sports and BT Sport, all in one package, all at the best price. Search Virgin Media Football for more details. Virgin Media, for the fans. Cabled areas are new customers only. Comparison over 12 months can be verified at virginmedia.com/best price.
MyCarMeter.com. Oh no, the MOT's due and it needs a service. Whatever your car needs, just type in a few details and approved local businesses will quote for your work. Then pick whichever's best for you. Just visit
mycarmeter.com. Become a local hero like Chris. He's an electrician. He joined Local Heroes, an online service that matches customers with trusted plumbers, electricians and heating engineers.
Local Heroes send me the jobs and I take the ones that work for me. Plus it's really easy to use and free to join.
Chris is right. There's no sign-up fee. Dodgy lights, leaky taps, no heating. There's a local hero for that, and you could be one of them. Visit localheroes.com and join hundreds of trusted tradesmen. Local Heroes, a British Gas innovation.
A tummy full of yummy breakfast? Good, you're going to need all the fuel you can get, kiddo. Today is the big one. Belt in, braces on, bow tie tied, looking sharp. Bing! Now for your dancing shoes. Quick polish, triple knot, and bound out the door of the family room. It's party time! Happy 90th birthday, great Aunt Mabel. You don't look a day over 82. Whatever your story, this is a great place to start. Premier Inn. Premier U.
Breakfast prices and options may vary. Exclude certain locations.
Talk Radio, traffic and travel.
In Lancashire, the M6 North junctions 27 to 28. The road remains closed with very slow traffic due to an accident earlier tonight. Your diversion is via the hollow black diamond signs. A49 to Porley Road in Stretton in Cheshire. Both directions between the M56 and the Tall Trees junction still closed due to an accident. In Newport, the M4 eastbound at junction 26, queuing traffic here because of the overnight closure for roadworks. And in Bournemouth, the A35 St Paul's Road west from Holdenhurst Road towards St Paul's roundabout, still closed by an accident. I'm Stuart Watt.
Greetings, Earthlings. We come in peace. We wish to communicate with your leader.
I'm Howard Hughes. Join me this Sunday night from 10 for a trip into the outer limits.
Untwist the lid on Talk Radio's specimen jar of the psychic, the supernatural, and the simply unexplained.
The Unexplained with Howard Hughes. Sunday night from 10, Earth Time, on Talk Radio.
The Great British Brexit Debate Phone-In with James Max on Talk Radio in association with Sun Talks.
And live in the studio with me, Jonathan Isaby and James McGrory, and we're taking your comments and calls and whatever you want to talk about, really. We have been talking about the live debate, and we have turned our attention to immigration. 0344 499 1000 to get involved. If you want to send a text, 87222, start your text with the word talk, or you can tweet at Talk Radio or at the James Max. Let's just deal with and kick off our immigration discussions. Peter in Warrington has sent this particular message. He said, I voted to leave because I hate foreigners over here. The sooner we leave, the sooner we can kick them out. Is that a mainstream view? Or is that simply something that I don't know whether he's being amusing? I don't know whether he really thinks that. But that is, we have opened a can of worms, Jonathan, that this Brexit debate has allowed people to become very xenophobic.
I mean, no, that tweet you just read out is horrible. I don't know if he's trying to be funny or if he really believes that. I certainly don't. I think it is if it is that what he really thinks, I think it's sad that he thinks that. And it's a very much a minority view. What the Vote Leave campaign made clear was that Brexit was about taking back control of our borders, being controlling of immigration, not being anti-immigration. And I've certainly never suggested that immigration is a bad thing. It's been a huge positive for this country. It will continue to be a huge positive for this country. But I think the British people did want to see that element of control back at the UK level.
So... the other flip side to that is that a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon, and James, maybe you've seen it, and you said, well, this allows people within the debate to look at those who are in favour of Brexit and in essence say, you don't like foreigners and you're racists and all this sort of stuff. Do you think that has that passed? How do we deal with the hate crimes? How do we deal with the fact that it seems to have allowed people to make the sorts of comments that was socially unacceptable just before the vote?
I think you're absolutely right, but I also agree with Jonathan. I do think that's very much a minority view and a pretty horrible one at that. And I think it's incumbent on all sides of the debate now, regardless of where you stand on Brexit, regardless of where you stand on the finer points of immigration policy, for example, to say that kind of stuff is unacceptable and it's got no place in the debate. The immigration debate in this country is going to go on, and it's going to go on quite seriously because we're going to have to design a new immigration system, and we should do so praising the good work of immigration, accepting that people want aspects of its impact on public services and local communities addressed, and have a mature adult debate about
let's
rather
talk
than
about,
slag off foreigners.
Well, let's talk about immigration on the basis that if you have a look at one of the arguments that has been used, certainly on the Brexit side, is that uncontrolled immigration, and it was more that the government at the time either underestimated or they lied.
They underestimated.
And the consequences of that, it wasn't that people don't like to see people come to this country for work or to grow the economy, but it's rather like, as I've always put it, if you invite somebody over for dinner and you forgot to cook for them, or you invite them over to stay and you don't have a bed for them, or you didn't bother to make the bed up for them, or there's dirty sheets there, they're going to feel unwelcome. We did not make these people feel welcome. We didn't build the schools that they needed. We didn't build the hospitals. We didn't build the roads, and therefore we've made ourselves more crowded. And that has put people against people. Is that a reason, or one of the reasons, or a contributory factor as to why people voted out? Because those who wanted this European project didn't plan for it.
I don't think it's just those. I mean, you're correct about not planning for it, but I don't think it's just those. I think every government for the last 3-4 decades, probably my lifetime, has to take responsibility for not adequately providing the correct amount of public services to deal with an increasing population.
Well, let's just hear a little bit from the Sun's Trevor Kavanagh, who during the debate broached that very subject.
It is absolutely unquestionable that during the period of mass uncontrolled immigration into this country, the weapon that was used against anybody who raised a voice against it was that we were all racist. A totally unfair jibe which was withdrawn eventually and reluctantly by those who advocated the continuation of the European Union as it was with free movement of people.
And isn't that the case, Jonathan, that when you listen to the arguments on both sides allowed people to generalise? And as you said, James, right at the beginning, people voted for how they voted, whether it was Remain or Leave, for very different reasons. But then, as soon as the debate started and it got a bit heated, people just shoved people in buckets, and that was it. Is that fair? You know, that we've allowed the media, if you like, or the media debate has polarised it, that if you're a Brexiteer or you're in favour of Brexit, then you must in some shape or form be racist, and that was a label against you. And if you wanted to remain, then for some reason you were blind to all these things that I don't know had sort of taken place, you know, around us.
Oh, the media are always going to find easy ways of categorising people, and you know, for a quick headline, and you know, people have got short attention spans, that they will write things up in a way that doesn't take account of the complicated and many reasons that people might have voted in a particular way. And I'd like to think that a programme like this, where we can have a longer discussion, we are able to get into many of these issues and demonstrate that those kind of generalisations are unfair.
Do you think, James, that in order to have a proper discussion about what Brexit means and what it means for our country, we've actually got to step back from the campaign trail, and rightly or wrongly, we've been thrown right back into it with a general election on the way, that the slogans come back instead of trying to work through the very complicated range of issues that we've got to unpick?
To a degree. I mean, this is my personal view, that there's a mandate for Brexit, but there's no mandate for a particular form of Brexit. This is going to dominate the political debate for the next 5 years.
So minimum. is that well, that's rather why Theresa May, I guess, is having the election, and presumably the kind of Brexit that she sets out, if she gets a big mandate and has a big majority in Parliament, that's the Brexit we will get.
Well, I mean, she's setting herself a high bar, in my opinion. If she can deliver a trade deal that delivers the exact same benefits as being a member of the single market, good luck to her. If she can deliver a security partnership that delivers all the same benefits that we have now, good luck to her. If she's going to deliver an immigration system that gets all the needs for our businesses while also drastically cutting numbers to meet her tens of thousands target, good luck to her. I personally think they have set themselves bar. They're telling people that Brexit is a cost-free option, that all is going to be rosy in the garden, that every home can have a free pony, and I think they're going to struggle to deliver it.
Oh, I'd like a free pony. Would you like a free pony?
I'm not sure I would, actually. There's other things.
Actually, there are a lot of things to look after.
Difficult in a flat.
Can we leave that one hanging for a minute? Because I'd like you to answer that properly, but I'm conscious of time, and I also want to throw in this other message that Mal has said, and then Jonathan, I'll come straight to you next on the issues. Mal says, I voted to leave. I agree with immigration, and I'm not a racist, but it has to be on merit. what skills we need and by qualifications. When you have 27 other states of self-interest that make our control obsolete and block common sense, even that, if you catch too much fish, then you have to throw the dead ones back into the sea. I find even that law absolutely disgusting. European control is full of lunatics, says Mal. And I see the point, particularly on immigration, that I think we just need to square off. But ultimately, we can't have the open borders anymore. That's going to have to go. Theresa May is not going to allow that to happen, is she?
No, indeed, and that's one of the reasons why we cannot be a member of the single market, which James and Open Britain and Isaby, who was in the debate today, say, oh, well, let's stay in the single market. You cannot remain in the single market and have control of borders, because free movement of people is one of the fundamental parts of the single market. That is sacred as far as all the European Union leaders are concerned. I respect that, but I disagree that we should be part of it.
Would you accept freedom of movement of people for work purposes? So if, for example, somebody had a job to go to, then they can move, but if they don't, then they can't.
Good question.
I think in the immigration system that we need to create post-Brexit, there will be opportunity for that kind of arrangement. I'm not necessarily saying it would be, unfettered freedom of movement, but this is what we've now got to discuss.
Okay.
Don't you think part of the problem is that people have been repeatedly promised drastic cuts to immigration?
People have been promised all sorts of things, and we're going to come on to one of those promises in a few moments. If you want to join the conversation, by the way, 0344 499 1000, or you can text 87222, start your text with the word talk, or tweet at talkradio, #SunTalks. I'd be delighted to have your views. Get those in with Jonathan and with James and with myself, James Max, here on Talk Radio.
The wild man of late night radio is back.
Ian Lee on Talk Radio.
He has made a covenant with the night, and with the darkness he is in agreement.
Every weeknight from 10, get post-watershed pillow talk from radio's very own Prince of Darkness.
Ian! The dog's peed on the pillow!
Uncut, after-hours conversation for the up-all-night generation.
It's a phone-in show. We're going to have singers. We're going to have dancers. We're going to have naked pets.
Late Night Ian Lee. Tonight from 10 on Talk Radio.
He's not the Prince of Darkness. I'm the Prince of Darkness.
The Great British Brexit Debate Phone-In with James Max on Talk Radio in association with SunTalks.
Because you now admit that there were lies told by Leave, like Matt Ford has said there were lies told on both sides. Could you admit that 350 million was a lie?
I think that poster was sloppy, but the point
is... No, it's not a sloppy. It was. It's not a poster. Okay. It was on a bus. Was it a lie? Not sloppy. No, on a bus. Was it a lie? Yes or no?
I think the raw truth is...
It was a lie. It was a lie, Dominic. Come on.
So there we go. That was Isaby and Dominic Raab going full pelt at the SunTalks live debate over at the News UK HQ. But what did you make of the debate? If you want to get involved in the conversation, 0344 499 1000, or as many of you are doing, you seem to be listening and texting and tweeting. 87222 to send your text. Don't forget to start your text with the word talk, or tweet at Talk Radio. So, Jonathan and Isaby, let me just remind those who are listening, you, of course, a great sort of Brexit supporter, as indeed editor of Brexit Central, and James McGrory is also with me, who's co-executive director of Open Britain. Jonathan, you wanted to pick up a couple of points that had been sort of made before, so let's pick up that, and let's also talk about that 350 million quid line on the side of the bus as well.
Yeah, before the break, James made a whole series of points saying that Theresa May's not going to get the right trade deal, she's not going to get the right immigration policy, she's not going to get the right security arrangements, and frankly...
Well, it was more he was saying good luck to her if she does.
Well, he was implying that she won't be able to do it. He was being incredibly unambitious, if I may say so.
You can get a trade deal with Europe that gives you the exact same benefits as you have now. That's what the government are saying. You genuinely think that? You're going to get the same deal as we get now by leaving.
But you're probably not going to get the same deal.
Well,
but does that matter?
But when the government are telling people, the government are saying they're going to get a trade deal with the European Union that delivers, this is a direct quote from the dispatch box, the exact same benefits as we have today. I think it's perfectly reasonable of me to be pretty sceptical.
There we go.
I happen to think it's perfectly possible when you take into account the other trade deals that we will have with other countries around the world that we'll be better off and have an overall better trade deal, let alone a worse one.
That's a perfectly legitimate argument. That's not what the government is saying.
Okay, so
and what I'm concerned about is that James is talking down the chances of us getting that brilliant deal that we all want for the country.
I don't think Barney is listening to this.
How dare you? How very dare you? Who has the greatest leverage in the negotiation talks? Jonathan?
I think the UK is in such a superb position to secure an incredibly good deal. At the end of the day, the EU needs us far more than we need it in terms of the money that we put into the European Union, in terms of the balance of trade. We are in a fantastic position.
Okay, so that's your side. James, I'm assuming that you're going to say that we're not in a great position and the EU's got all the cards.
No, I don't. I appreciate a negotiation with I approach a negotiation with our closest allies as saying if you want to get a good agreement, both sides have to take something away from the table. That, by definition, is true in any trade negotiation.
Is the EU's goal now is they need to look as if they haven't done a sweetheart deal because everybody will want to leave, but they recognise that it will hurt them if they do a bad deal with us. I'm assuming that's going to be their stance.
I actually think the EU are being pretty constructive. They're taking.
Well, they need to be.
Well, yes, and the British government have taken a more constructive tone over the last couple of weeks than they had previously.
But isn't the point that because we've been net contributors, it does make a difference. If we'd been a net taker-outer of the EU, then the impact of us leaving would be somewhat different. We have been a net contributor to the EU since we joined. So
it's a bit more than that. We're the greatest country in the world. We're Britain. We've got the English language. We've got amazing business. We've got the creative talents. We've got the City of London. We've got London as a city. We've got football. Britain leaving the EU, make no mistake, is really, really bad news for the EU. It's lost one of the big boys, and they're pretty upset about it.
I'm not surprised they're upset about it, but then, on the other hand, they didn't listen to the warning signals. And you could argue and level at the EU, had they listened to the fact that the French and the Dutch and the Irish, they said no when they had a chance, and people didn't like the idea of political integration. And when it came to the financial crisis, the fact that they had a single country, single currency, stuffed the poorest people across Europe in a way that we have never seen before, or certainly not in our lifetimes.
I think it's a bit much to blame the financial crash on the euro. But
no. I'm not blaming the financial crash on the euro. I'm blaming. As a result of the financial crash, the people who were hit hardest were the very poorest, and they were hit worse as a result of being part of that.
And that's because the political elite in Brussels forced countries to join the euro, which frankly were not in a million years ready to be part of that integrated single currency. And what the European Union has done has consigned a whole generation to unemployment for years, if not decades. It's incredibly exciting.
Let's just pick up a follow-up message from Ian this time. He says, James, the text that you read out earlier was offensive. I voted to stay in the EU. However, I think you do need to control who is coming in and out. If you have too many people overwhelming an area, regards the schools, the doctors, it doesn't suit anyone. And that's the point that I'm trying to work out from your stance, James, because on one hand, I totally understand those who are Remainers and want to remain part of the single market and the trading benefits and all that sort of thing. You cannot ignore the social problems that have been created as a result of being part of this club.
I think the benefits look, we're fighting the lessons of last year, the reruns of last year, but I think the benefits of EU membership far outweigh the downsides. I always have done, frankly, I always will do. On the specific issue of immigration, this is my prediction, it may prove to be false. Freedom of movement will be reformed across Europe before too long. When you've got the Dutch Deputy Prime Minister, and Holland is hardly a country known for its illiberal values, saying it's got to come to an end. You've got politicians in Denmark, in Sweden, in France, mainstream politicians, not the far right, saying the same thing. It's going to be reformed. It might not be reformed in a way to satisfy Jonathan or other people who are incredibly passionate about Brexit, but I think it will be. And I think Britain could have been at the table arguing for pan-European reform of freedom of movement.
Well, we tried that and they weren't interested.
But it's too late, isn't it? As James Max, the presenter, was saying, as opposed to James McGrory, the guest. James M. This is very complicated.
I know. What do you call a collective of Jameses? Anyway, sorry.
JMI?
It could be.
what has happened over years, and James, you made this point, every time any people within Europe have sounded a warning signal about they're not liking the direction things are going, the response from Brussels has always been, no, you're wrong, we need more Europe, more integration, deeper integration, and frankly, it's reaching a breaking point where, you know, Britain has obviously said enough is enough and we're going, and Euroscepticism is on the rise across various countries in Europe, and dare I say it, in some of those countries it's coming out in a rather more unsavoury form than it has in this country, and that's a concern.
Let's just pick up on the Anna Soubry, Dominic Raab argument about that £350 million on the side of the bus. This one from Ray says, even a drongo like me knew that the 350 million quid on the side of a bus was an aspirational advert, not an election pledge. Everybody knew that was a nonsense. So to go on about it, James, when people say, where's that 350 million quid? Nobody cares because nobody believed it.
I think it's complete rewriting of history now. The idea, because it's been exposed as being not just sloppy, but a barefaced lie. Everyone now is associated with the campaign saying, "Oh, we knew it was a lie. It was all great japes. We drove around in a bus, and wasn't it a brilliant little jape we pulled?"
Isn't that the problem?
I've been on the doorstep and I've sat in focus groups where people have asked when the extra money for the NHS is coming. The people believed it. I'm not saying everyone believed it, but large numbers of people believed it. And the people who ran the Vote Leave campaign know that. Read Dominic Cummings' blog. He says, without that, they probably wouldn't have won. His words, he was the head of Vote Leave.
I wasn't involved in Vote Leave. I've come to the debate as a Brexit Central since the referendum, but I happen to think that the 350 number was perfectly fair in terms of the amount of money that we send to Brussels.
So you know it's a lie, and he's still defending it. They can't both be true, can they? He's saying it's true, and you're saying you know categorically it to be a lie. So the people who are pumping out the Brexit propaganda are telling you it's true, and you're saying everyone knows it's a lie.
But there will be money to spend. What politicians...
There won't be 350 million to spend, I can tell you that.
There'll be something. Who knows?
Well,
no one knows.
Well, I think if it had said there'll be £1 to spend on the NHS,
people
might have thought very differently. It wouldn't have been much of a slogan. But the point I come back to is you're claiming that everyone knew it was a lie. And yet the people who put out the Brexit propaganda are saying not just it's a lie, but it's the truth. So they're still saying it's the truth. And you're saying everybody knows it's a lie. That can't be right.
Is it the truth, Jonathan?
Yeah. We send that money to Brussels, we get some of it back, and we're supposed to be grateful for it. The fact is, there were some incredibly ludicrous claims made on the other side. There was that suggestion that there was going to be an immediate recession after the vote. There was going to be unemployment soaring. Every single economic statistic over the last year since the referendum has shown that the economy's got better, growing, less unemployment.
We haven't left the European
What we've learnt is that 76% of all statistics are made up. We will take some more comments in a few moments' time if you want to get involved in the conversation. 87222 on the text. Start your text with word talk at Talk Radio if you want to tweet me. Hashtag #SunTalks. Or even better, if you want to telephone. 0344 499 1000. You're listening to me, James Max, here on Talk Radio.
Across the UK, online and on DAB.
Talk Radio. For those about to talk, we salute you.
Talk Radio in partnership with the Army. The Army is currently recruiting for over 200 exciting, diverse and rewarding roles. Find where you belong. Discover more at army.mod.uk/belong.
Get all the exclusive showbiz scoops every day with The Sun. Join me, Dan Wootton, for the world's best showbiz column, Bazaar. Packed full with access all areas updates, plus the latest gossip from your favourite celebs. And know what's worth channel hopping for with Bazaar TV. Go on, pick up The Sun today for just 50p.
Virgin Media gives fans all the football on Sky Sports and BT Sport, all in one package, all at the best price. Search Virgin Media Football for more details. Virgin Media, for the fans. Cabled areas are new customers only. Comparison over 12 months can be verified at virginmedia.com/best price.
Q the big sale at Network Q, the best place for approved used Vauxhalls. Q the finance with 7.9% APR representative. Q the savings with a big £500 deposit contribution. And Q the extras with 1 year's roadside assistance and 1 year's warranty. Q the big sale at your local Vauxhall Network Q retailer between the 7th and 24th of April.
Personal contract purchase. Finance subject to status. 18 plus T's and C's apply. Finance provided by Vauxhall Finance. Available on selected models at participating retailers.
Be challenged, be inspired, be adventurous, be confident, be valued, be trusted, be skilled, be supported, be respected. Belong to something bigger than you.
The Army is currently recruiting for over 200 exciting, diverse and rewarding roles. Plus, as an equal opportunities employer, you'll get paid according to your rank, not your gender.
Listen to Talk Radio all day, every day, and discover a sense of belonging that will last a lifetime. For more information, go to army.mod.uk/belong. Find where you belong.
Talk Radio, traffic and travel.
In Lancashire, the M6 northbound junctions 27 to 28 remains closed with long delays due to an accident earlier this evening. Your diversion is via the hollow black diamond signs. In Stretton in Cheshire, the A49 to Porley Road is closed between the M56 and the Talltrees junctions both ways. It's due to a serious accident. On the trains between Sheffield, Meadowhall and Swinton, services operated by First Transpennine Express and Cross Country are at a stand. It's due to a person hit by a train earlier tonight. I'm Stuart Wall.
Get turned on to Irreverent Afternoon Entertainment with John Holmes. Tomorrow afternoon from 1 on Talk Radio.
Crush the saboteurs. That is the message of Theresa May's election. So we're organising a saboteur scrappage scheme. If you've got a saboteur and you don't like its emissions, such as, oh, we need to vote a second referendum, then why not bring your saboteur in to be crushed? Send your saboteur to Talk Radio Saboteur Scrappage Scheme, Talk Radio, The Radio, London.
The original sound of John Holmes.
Join me, John Holmes, tomorrow afternoon from 1 on Talk Radio.
The Great British Brexit Debate Phone-In with James Max on Talk Radio in association with Sun Talks.
So, yes, that's me. You haven't got very long left, actually, because Ian Lee is going to be with you from 10 o'clock here on Talk Radio, and he'll be in a few minutes' time to tell you what's on his programme. And, as you probably know, his show bans discussion of Brexit. So, if you want to have a discussion about Brexit and the election, you get fined. Not until then, though. 0344 499 1000 is my number. And you can text 87222, start your text with the word talk, or you can tweet at Talk Radio or at the James Max. In the studio with me, James McGrory, co-executive director of Open Britain, and also Jonathan Isaby, editor of Brexit Central. So, let's just take a little bit of a look forward, and certainly at the Sun Talks live debate, Matt Ford had quite a few things to say when it came to planning for Britain post-Brexit.
The people in charge of the situation haven't done the planning. Our head negotiator said the job was too big and left. Oliver Letwin admitted that most of the trade negotiators we've got are working on behalf of the EU. Britain is understaffed, it is underprepared as a government for this situation. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we never got a proper deal, and the government have effectively already admitted they're happy to go to WTO rules, which is a total dereliction, I would say, of most of the people who voted leave.
So, Jonathan, what do you make of what he says, and what does a post-Brexit Britain trade deal look like?
Well, I think Matt Ford is talking on nonsense there. One of the reasons that Theresa May wanted to wait before triggering Article 50 until this year was to have a few months in order for the government to set up the new departments, the Department for Exiting the European Union, the Department for International Trade, to get the right people in the right posts in order to be ready for the negotiations that are going to start after the general election. So I refute that. And as to trade post-Brexit Britain, I mean, he says, you know, it will be a cataclysmic if we go to WTO rules. Well, no, that is how we trade with the rest of the world already, and that works pretty well. If we were to go to WTO rules with the rest of the EU, it would hurt them more than it would hurt us, because again, going back to the whole balance of trade, you know, the tariffs would cost them a lot more money than it would cost us. You know, I would like to see tariff-free trade with the rest of the European Union. I'd like to see free trade with as many countries as possible.
Let me just take that tariff point. So, James, so inevitably, I assume you're going to disagree with Jonathan on that, and you, I don't know, I less want to talk about whether it's going to be a shambles or not, and more want to take the point and say, look, even if the WTO rules were to come into play, the fact that we've seen a currency readjustment means that it will hurt them more than it hurts us if they don't come up with a trade deal.
I disagree. We said about
that's fact.
That's looking at it one way. I will give you another thing. The 50% of what we sell, about 45% of what we sell directly to them. they sell about somewhere between 7 and 10% of what they sell to us. So this idea that we're somehow in a much better position, I just categorically reject. This is half of all our exports.
Yes,
it's less than a tenth.
Yeah, I
of
know,
theirs.
but our exports are a lot cheaper, and even if we went to WTO rules,
your imports are dearer, though, aren't they?
Yes, but then that hurts them more than it hurts us.
It hurts British consumers. Tariffs, look,
Yes.
I think there's probably one thing we can all agree on. Free trade is generally a good thing, whether Brexit or remain.
So all I'm saying is...
why would you, if you're in favour of free trade, be in any way blasé about imposing tariffs
I'm not blasé
on
about
half
it.
your trade?
But what I'm trying to work out is who's got the stronger hand here. And at the moment, because of what the currency did, we in Britain have the stronger hand, don't we?
Well, like I say, when we sell half our stuff to them that we sell, and they only sell a tenth of their stuff to us that they sell, that doesn't strike. If you're dealing in a business and you come into the table and you're like, this guy's worth 50% of my business, and you're only worth 10% of his.
Yeah,
do I feel like I've got a stronger hand?
Do the maths.
No.
Do the maths.
We've got 5 times as much. Yeah.
No.
Collectively, the tariffs would cost European Union countries more than they would cost the UK. And remember, at the end of the day, because of the money that we're getting back, we're not sending to Brussels anymore. The UK government will have cash which potentially can use to offset
you're
those
spending
tariffs
that money
anyway.
time and time over, aren't you? It's the NHS. It's being used to cover tariffs. What's it not going to be spent on? Social care?
Let's take Alan's comment here. He says, where is the logic? Turn away from 80% of global free trade for the sake of 15%. Leaving is logical. I mean, the world is a big place.
And, of course, the European Union share is going down year by year.
Well, look, I mean, if you think that we're going to be able to make up the 500 million consumers on our doorstep in the richest part of the world with Liam Fox going to the Philippines...
But does it matter where they are? In this day and age, it doesn't really matter where they are.
I'm afraid it does. We do. Until a couple of years ago, we did more trade with Ireland than we did with Brazil, Russia, India and China combined. That's Ireland. That's 5 million people. Do you know why? Because it's right next door. We share a land border with them. Proximity still matters in trade. Look at who our biggest trading partners are. They're the closest ones to our doorstep. It's the same throughout the world.
But they don't necessarily have to be.
You're still going to do more business with people that are located near to you than you are with people far
you're
away.
Going to
As
do
a
more
general
business,
rule of thumb.
You're going to do more business with people that you want to do more business with.
So you're suggesting that we are going to suddenly start doing much less business with our nearest and richest neighbours,
but arguably,
and much more business that will completely
But arguably, it's more important for us for Ireland to do business with us than it is for us with them.
I mean, Ireland are a specific case. The Irish, and my family's all Irish, they are extremely worried about Brexit. Of course they are.
So
they're worried about the border.
Yes,
but there's 26. Yeah, if it was Britain and Ireland, it would be sorted tomorrow. But there's 26 other people involved.
And lest we forget, before we joined the European Union, or the European Community as it then was, we did a hell of a lot more trade with Commonwealth countries like Australia or Canada or New Zealand, who effectively we neglected.
What percentage of our trade is currently with New Zealand?
Well, it's not that much, but it can grow.
I'll tell you what it is. It's less than 3%. And how much is it realistically going to grow? The country that is as far away from us, even if you doubled it, which I think would be an extraordinary achievement, right? You're still only making up 3%. The European Union is 45% of our trade. It's a pipe dream.
But New Zealand is one country and about 170. I mean, there are.
Okay, we could argue that one forever and a day. Let's just look ahead in the last few minutes to, in essence, what is going to be a very interesting election campaign, and then, of course, it's Brexit Central as we, I suppose, really start to leave and start to extricate ourselves.
Home turf, Jonathan.
Indeed. James, from your point of view, we are where we are. Do you think that we are going to end up with a deal that at least works?
I very much hope so. I think it would be a ridiculous dereliction of duty to walk away without any deal at all. And so I very much hope so. I don't think we're going to get the deal that people have been promised.
Jonathan?
I'm supremely confident of our position to enable us to get a good deal, a deal that works for all of us. And I get upset when I hear people like Anna Soubry in the debate or Vince Cable on the radio this morning, who are big supporters of Remain, talking down the chances of getting that deal. I want to see, and this is one of the reasons really why Theresa May, I think, felt she had to go for this election to get that mandate, because there are too many people, and there are a hell of a lot of them in the House of Lords, who are talking down the potential for getting that good deal and basically saying we don't want this to happen, we want to frustrate the situation, and are trying to stop the government from doing the best for this country. I want to see politicians of all political colours, people from both sides of the debate, come together and help to secure that best deal.
Let's talk about both sides of the debate as we head into this general election. Do you think, James, that we're going to see the election driven by domestic issues, or is it going to be driven by Brexit? And if so, are we going to see a surge in support by those people who they were 48% of the voters? There are a lot of them out there that will suddenly think, right, now is the time to galvanise and vote for the party that they wouldn't naturally vote for because they want to put a stick in the spokes.
I think Brexit will dominate the general election, as I think it will dominate the next Parliament, and I think it's actually a crying shame. I don't think the government has enough physical bandwidth to deal with a load of the other issues that need addressing. Crisis in the social care system, our NHS is nearly falling over, our schools could be better. There's a whole domestic agenda that I'd love to see debated. I don't think it's going to get a look in, frankly, and I do think, in answer to your second part of your question, that those people who feel that their voice isn't being heard in this debate, who voted Remain, who are told that unless they take a Panglossian Brexit view of the world now as espoused by Jonathan and Brexit Central, they don't have a right to speak in the debate. They will look for